Thanks for doing this, Patty. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Obviously, this is a one-year deal. Is this, are you looking at this as potentially the last year for you, or are you keeping it open-ended beyond 2025?
No, I'm keeping it open-ended. I've always said, this at least up until last year or whatever it was when the CBA started getting more guaranteed money that every contract's a one-year deal. So I've always seen it like that. And obviously I'm not getting any younger, but my body still feels great. And I've always taken the approach that I'm just taking this one year at a time, and I'm gonna do what's best for myself and my family. But ultimately, just really really excited to be back in the blue and gold for another season. Having Stan back, having Zach under contract, and knowing that a large contingency of guys want to be back, and you never know what this business was going to happen, but I think the draw of the Grey Cup in Winnipeg is huge too. So really excited to be back and looking forward to it.
If you were to look at, let's say the peak performance, whenever that was for you, whenever you feel your personal best was, I'm curious, what percentage would you say you still are? Would you say you're still 100% of the best you've ever been? Would you be 95%, 90? Like where do you see yourself at your age in terms of, relative to your best days, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm probably still in my 90s, honestly. I think I'm still playing really great football. Obviously had a decent injury last year, which kept me out for a while, but came back and played really well, and I still love every aspect of what this job entails, from the meetings to the locker rooms to obviously game day and playing in front of Princess Auto Stadium fans is tremendous. So um, yeah, like I feel great. I still feel like I'm playing really good football. I still feel like I can contribute positively to the team and the organization. So I think I have a pretty good sense of when when I won't be at that level is when I'll probably step away, but I don't feel like I'm there yet.
Thanks. So I'll go to the back of the line.
Paul?
Hi, you guys can hear me okay? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Patty. Hey, Patty. Congrats.
Thank you.
You mentioned the Grey Cup this year. Expand on that a bit. How big a deal is that for guys like you to re-sign?
Yeah, Grey Cup is the only goal you have as an organization, I think, in every CFL team, whether it's spoken about or not. Ultimately, that's your goal, and just having it at home in Winnipeg in our stadium, it just means a little bit more. Knowing you have to earn the opportunity to go play in that game, and I couldn't imagine a a better way to cap your season off with winning a Grey Cup at home. So I think that's going to be a big draw for a lot of guys to want to come back and play and have the opportunity to compete to play in that game. So um, it's a long, long season. A lot of things happen, but um, I think you have to kind of put that in the back of your mind and use it as a little bit of motivation to work through this cold hot winter in Winnipeg and get ready to go for the season.
The offense has lost its longtime coordinator in Buck, of course, and longtime assistant coach in Kevin. How concerned are you about those two departures?
It hurts, losing Buck like that and losing Bergs because it's consistency, and a huge part of this game is consistency and trust in what you're doing. But ultimately, have faith in our football operations to get quality people in, great teachers, great football minds that are going to put us in the right path. And when that happens, we'll get right into our scheme and start learning it as quick as possible so we can hit the ground running in training camp.
The organization's been fairly slow in re-signing players too. You're just the first, I think, or the fourth one uh, going back to the end of the season. How concerning is that for you so far?
Not too concerned.
No.
I think over time, we've seen how our team has operated and seen the people we've brought back and the people we've signed, and um, I have ultimate faith in those people and their process. So, it may be a little slower, it may not be as flashy as other teams or other organizations, but I have a trust in what we do.
Thanks, Pat.
No problem.
Derek, you can go ahead.
Patty, have you thought much about why the offense produced so dramatically differently last year versus the past couple of years?
That's a good question. Um, I can't pinpoint it for sure because I think if we could, we would have nipped it in the bud right away. But there might be a plethora of reasons, maybe not playing as consistently as we have up front. Probably just due to, some personnel changes and guys kind of getting in the rhythm. I missed all of training camp. Eric had come back and we never got reps together through training camp. Liam being a first time starter, full time next to Stan, and just, some moving pieces in the receiver spot. Um, I think that has something to do with it, but ultimately, as players, probably we just weren't playing as well as we should have been, for whatever reason. I don't know why. Who knows? Maybe some rust being shaken off, or still a hangover from that last season. But it's something to keep in mind when we go to training camp, and it'll probably be spoken about that we have to start faster.
How confident are you sitting here today that you guys, as a side of the football, can get back to what you're able to do in 23 and 2022?
Yeah, very confident. I think when you have Brady and Zach, that bodes extremely well for you. So that's a huge draw for coming back, and then obviously having Stan re-signed is massive, the greatest lineman in the history of our league. So um, I love this organization, and seeing it change and grow throughout my time here has been phenomenal. So, I'm confident that we can get back there. I think we have a great core group of guys that know what it takes to get through adversity, know what it takes to battle our way through a rough patch and come out on top. So, we can use that going into the season, into training camp.
Thanks, Patty.
Yep.
Josh, you can go ahead.
Hey, Patty, congrats on the extension, man.
Thank you.
Um,
Appreciate it.
no problem. You'd said after the season, I remember that your intentions were to come back. Like you were pretty definitive on that. I'm just curious. Do you think that you're feeling would have been different had you guys actually beat the Argos in the Grey Cup? Like I'm wondering, would you have weighed retirement? Do you think a bit more had you guys had come out on top in that one?
Honestly, no. I was always committed to coming back this year, as long as the team was wanting to have me back. It's a two-way street. So I think even if we had won that game, I would have been definitely committed to come back.
Okay. And you're obviously a respected voice, not only, among the teammates, but obviously among coaches as well. I'm just curious if you talked to Mike about just the way the Grey Cup shook out and just how you guys maybe, or the sentiment was that you guys didn't stick to your identity. Is that a conversation that you guys had had?
You know what? Honestly, that we never talked about that. My year-end meeting with Osh was kind of just more on like a human level, not really talked about football, just seeing how I was feeling and physically doing well, just plans for the off season. And I think there was an understanding that I wanted to be back and he wanted me back. And um, we didn't talk much about football. I think it's just you go through that season that we had, playing the way we did and not winning that game. I think guys were just like, the last thing I want to do is talk about this game and talk about the season. Like it was a mutual understanding that we'd gone through a lot of shit that year and still fought our way into that game, but unfortunately didn't win it. And that roller coaster of emotion. I think we're just like, okay, that's enough. And I spoke with teammates about it, but to be honest, it's been pretty quiet in regards about talking about that game. Where now the focus is on who's going to come back, what our coaching staff's going to look like, and making sure we're training and preparing for training camp.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
John?
Patty, you mentioned the injury, and I remember, you briefly filed retirement papers during camp, which I think was just kind of a paper move for the club. But out of the gate, the O-line struggles. Eventually, you miss a month, and then you come back, and the O-line really seems to click. Like you guys definitely played your best football late in the year. I'm curious I know the club is tight-lipped about injuries, but now that that's old news, would you be willing to share maybe in more detail what exactly you were dealing with in 2024 and kind of how it progressed for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it was a knee injury, and it was something that um, it's one of those things that it just took time. It was, it was pressing as much as I could. And, we have an unbelievable therapy staff where they work their tails off to make sure that you can get back the right way, not just get you back on the field for the sake of getting you back on the field, but making sure you're confident in yourself and confident in your abilities to go out and perform at the highest level. So, I have to give all the credit to Alan, Olivia, and Taylor, and Chris, and Braden, our therapy and training staff, because they work a ton of crazy hours, and they sacrifice a lot of time to make sure that we can go out there and perform. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that happen as an offensive lineman. You get rolled up on, and you got to deal with it. So, I was lucky I'm wearing the knee braces, and shout out to Don Joy for those knee braces. But it's just a thing that took time, and I knew I could come back and play really well. I was confident in my abilities, confident in the guys that I was working with in our room. So, our offensive line coach Marty does an unbelievable job of getting us prepared, and I knew right away once I could get back in the lineup that he would do a great job of preparing us and getting me ready.
Financially, is the deal kind of in line with what you've made the last number of years, or did you take less, kind of as you talked about looking to pursue this Grey Cup?
Yeah, it's been in line with what I've been making as of late, and super happy with my deal and comfortable where I'm at.
Yeah. Thanks, Patty.
Ed, you can go ahead.
Hey, Pat. Just following up on a couple of questions. You mentioned off the top about your passion for the game still. What does keep the fire burning, and what is it that about the gig that you like so much still?
I think there's probably two of the biggest things. One is the relationships you make, especially having been around or been in the same locker room for a long time, and some of those people down in the locker room and football operations are my closest friends in the world, and when you go through a ton of adversity, it just connects you on a different level, and those connections, once you step away from football, they won't go away, but you just don't see those people as much anymore. So definitely the connection with people. And secondly, I think is just outright competition. I've always been a competitive person, just that striving and straining to win a game, and all the work you put into it. Um, Nothing beats going out on game day and competing. You might get nervous, you might be sore, but ultimately you're going out and doing something that you love, and doing something that not a lot of people get the opportunity to do. So I'm grateful every day I get to do that, and I think it's why I keep going. I don't want it to end.
At one time, you were talking about staying in the game after you're done playing. Are you still thinking about that? Like when you're watching what this team does in the off season in terms of roster building and all that stuff, is that something that still fascinates you? Is that something you would like to pursue?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my passion in life, this game, this sport. Obviously been a lot more privy to the business side of it now, having done my own deals and just being around a lot longer, going through that CFL and CFLPA mentorship program a couple years ago. Um, so I just can't see myself doing anything else, whether it's, coaching or football operations or something combining the both. I don't know. I think it's a little tougher now with that operations cap for getting guys in, but time will tell. Ultimately, right now, I'm gonna be extremely happy playing and going through with that. But I'm not getting any younger, and my time as a player is coming to an end, probably sooner rather than later. And thinking about the future, it is a little daunting, but I think just when I've committed myself to this game, I know what I can do on the field, and if I can bring that same passion and energy into a new position, I think I'll be a great benefit.
And just one more for me to follow up on another question. You talked about Buck and Kevin leaving. Um, can change be good too, in a way? Like I know this is Paul Lapolice used to always say this is a change business because the rosters change so much, but maybe, I don't know, is the silver lining possibly that fresh ideas and all that kind of stuff can be reinvigorating too?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on the scale of change, I think it can be a little daunting, but I think ultimately change is a good thing because it doesn't allow guys to be comfortable, and if it forces you to relearn things or learn new concept schemes, even just learn kind of the new thought process of what our coaches are thinking and wanting. So, um, if we go a new direction, I'm going to be excited about it because I think, like I said, it's going to challenge me. It's going to challenge our guys to learn new things and adapt the things that we've done in the past to what's going to be new. And if we bring someone in who is close to the system or is the same system that we've had, well, then I'm sure they'll have wrinkles, and we're going to learn those wrinkles and try and execute them.
Right on. Thanks, Patty.
Yep.
Paul?
You mentioned to Josh that you and Coach O'Shea did not really want to rehash that Grey Cup. The whole season was, as you mentioned, you guys went through a lot of shit, and that took a lot out of you. Um, is there any concern on your part? Do you get any gut feeling that players maybe the whole idea of staying here, maybe taking a bit of a haircut to stay here, keep this band together, that's it's now kind of exhausted them, and maybe some might be looking around more? Or don't you get that sense?
It's possible. I think just probably the nature of the business and the way that the world is and the economy is, it's guys are going to try and make as much money as they can now, and things aren't getting cheaper. I go to Costco and I get 12 things and it's like $400, and I'm like, what is happening here? But that's a decision on a personal level that guys have to reconcile with. I'll speak on myself. I'm extremely fortunate, but I also feel like I've earned the contracts that I got that allows me to keep playing here and wanting to play here.
Mhm.
Um, but I can definitely see that some guys maybe would feel different and want to explore free agency and the difference the difference between 10 and 20 grand after taxes and the comforts of what we do with our team is probably negligible. But if you're looking at 50, 60, 70, sometimes more, that's a lot of money. So ultimately that relies, if you're if you have a family, or if you're a single guy, or whatever position you are in life. So, I feel like just this off season, maybe we see a little bit more change with the team, probably because of that notion.
Yeah. I want to know what you're getting at Costco for that price, but we'll leave that for another day.
Ugh,
Um,
baby stuff.
about the Grey Cup, though, should you not be revisiting what's gone on in these Grey Cups because your level of play was such a drop off from the West Final? Should there not be some heavy duty digging into what's been going on in those last three Grey Cups?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's now that it's a new year, kind of got through the holidays and kind of got through that ending of the season where you're just not feeling like it's whatever you're moping around or whatever it's going to be. But now it's a new year. Have to be a little more courageous and look at that film more intensely, and maybe talk in our position groups, talk with coaches, and just be a little more bit more honest about what's going on. And it's not blaming people, it's not sticking the finger, but it's how do we fix this? Why did we get to this? Why did we play like this? I think that's probably the bigger reason. The bigger
Yeah.
question is why did we play like that? It's not who did what, it's why. So yeah, I think this offseason more so than ever, take a little more time to figure that out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Derek?
Patty, just one here. How do you think Buck Pierce will be as a head coach?
Yeah, I think he's going to be great. Obviously sad to see him go, but extremely happy for him in his new role. I love Buck as a guy, and seeing him grow from a running back coach to quarterback coach to an OC, and a guy who commanded the room, and just even seeing skills develop, like speaking in front of large rooms is just tough for people, and him really controlling the room and bringing guys together, and knowing the amount of work he puts in, the hours that guy puts in is crazy, and I think he's gonna do great things out there. Hopefully not too great when he plays us, and yeah, it's a game. I talked about relationships, and he's a guy who I built a great relationship with, and I have all the respect in the world for.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Paul?
Can't help but follow that up with the tough question of the play calling in the Grey Cup. Brady has already said he wondered why. How about you guys up front?
I think,
Why not more running? I guess is what I'm getting at.
yeah, you probably, after the game, think about that more. But now I think my focus is just on why did we not play the way we should have played? Because I don't think that if you think about how the game was called, it's not going to do you any service for the future. Like I said to your question before, I think ultimately it's why did we play like that? Why didn't we execute? Because as a player, you just have to execute what's called, and that's something I preached kind of that whole week during Grey Cup is, no matter what Toronto throws at us, no matter what's going to happen, whether we're up or down, you have to go and execute. And I think that's what it came down to. Just we didn't execute nearly at the rate that we should have.